Good afternoon, good evening and good morning from wherever you're broadcasting into this session of the SWAN conference, the SWAN APC version. And my name is Greg Ryan, I'm your MC for the session, and I'd like to introduce Lara Olsen, who's going to be our keynote speaker. Lara is the Managing Director of Southeast Water in Australia. She's got extensive experience in the utility sector, focused on customer experience and innovation. Before joining Southeast Water, Lara was the Global Head of Business Development and Industrial Products at Tesla Energy, based in the US, and also led the Business Development and Industrial Products team for Tesla Australia. Previous roles have included the Head of Strategy for City Power, Powercore, and the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, ARENA. She's been project leader with the Boston Consulting Group and co-founded by BillCap, an energy platform that helps customers and retailers manage their usage and bills. So Lara's going to talk today about redefining smart water from reactive to precision. Over to you, Lara.
Thanks, Greg, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today. I also really appreciated the musical introduction. I haven't heard that song for a while. As Greg mentioned, today I wanted to talk about redefining smart water. I think as an industry, we've heard lots about what the digital transformation can do, and other industries apart from water are also focused on digital transformation. But from our perspective at Southeast Water, we really feel like the time for digital transformation is now. It's no longer a nice to have, it's a must have. And our focus as part of that is really about shifting our organisation and our approach from reactive, where we respond to customer needs or asset failure or any water quality incidents post the event, to really shifting that from reactive to predictive and then precision. So I was keen to share with you all what our journey has been and how we're approaching those precise metrics as part of opening up the discussion now and over time about what you are each doing and how we can learn from each other. A little bit about Southeast Water. So we are based in the southeast of Melbourne, Australia. We've got about 1.9 million residential customers, about 60,000 commercial customers, and a range of different types, from some cityscapes to natural parks to agriculture to small businesses. And it really does mean that when we think about this journey, we're trying to solve for a range of problems. When I think about digital, and not originally coming from a water background, I think it's generally driven by two key factors. One, customer expectations, and how do we make sure we're better serving what customers need? And the second, around operational processes. How do we make sure that we're being more efficient, that we're getting a better outcome for our people and for the assets that we're working on and using on behalf of our customers? I think though water's got one more factor, and that's why I want to share some slides with you today to talk about what that other factor is. One moment. The key other factor that I think that water has that means that we need to look at digital utility as a must-have rather than a nice-to-have is that our core product, certainly in Melbourne, Australia, is diminishing. This is a graph of the stream flows into Melbourne's major harvesting storages. You can sort of see the long-run average pre-1997. You can see what we call the Millennium Drought, which is that period in orange where we got down to 376 gigalitres a year. But in some ways, even more concerning than that time period is this new normal that we're now in, the post-1997 climate change scenario, where we just have less of our product, i.e. rainwater, falling into our storages and coming into our storages than we had before. It means that now more than ever, every drop counts. We've had an advertising campaign that we worked with our community on to say every drop counts. But given this is what we're seeing, and we expect that this will get worse over time, we need to make sure that we know where every drop of water is, that we're helping customers save it, and that we're using it on our side as efficiently as possible. And so this, along with meeting customer expectations and trying to be the best utility we can be, has really driven our journey into the digital. So let me step through some of those different components of that journey. The first is around customers. As part of the sort of water saving initiatives that we have here locally, we've been asking customers to use 155 litres of water per person per day. That's an absolutely reasonable ask, but a really hard one to fulfill if we're only telling them every 3 months how much water that they've used. And that is what we've been doing up to now. And in that sense, it's reactive. Once they see that chart or that bill come through, they can't really change their water consumption, or they can't identify a leak if they've had one. And so that's why this shift for us to digital meters, we've now got just under 18,000 in the field, and we'll have 25,000 by the end of June, is allowing us to do that transformation that we want to do. It gives customer real-time information in terms of their water usage. And importantly for us, it's also helping us help customers to identify leaks. So to date, we've found that there's about 3 to 5% of our residential properties that have a leak. And these are generally leaks that customers otherwise wouldn't pick up. And they might even now just account for it and think about it as part of their daily use. On average, that leak is costing them about $150 off their next bill. And we're finding now, as we're trialing how we best message customers about this, that when we send notifications to let customers know that they've got a leak, that within about 10 days, 80% of people have corrected that leak. We're also finding, though, some extreme leaks. So we had one the other day where a builder had gone through a water pipe, but it was under a slab. So that customer didn't know, but we could see that there were 30,000 litres being used per day. That would have cost that customer $9,800 extra on their next bill, but we were able to let them know, and clearly they fixed that and wanted to fix it and could do it within 24 hours. So this is that power, I think, in terms of asking customers to work with us to save water. Then it's on us to give them the information that they need to do that, to manage their bills as well. Our next step with this now is we're already billing off these digital meters, and now we expect to see some of the savings and improved customer experience come from there, i.e. no more meter reads. So we're not estimating what customers are using. We're able to tell them exactly, which should stop some of the calls or confusion for customers around high bills or unexpected bills. The next area I want to touch on is what we're doing on our network. If we're asking customers and working with customers to save water, then it's really important that we do it too. And I think many of you in the industry would be familiar with the side that looks like the reactive. For many of us, this is what happens when a pipe bursts, and you have all the associated implications, the safety implications in terms of making sure that traffic is managed around that site, that our workers can get there safely. The interruption in terms of people's day, people's water, the cost of doing it in a reactive way. And so part of what we're working on now is how do we make sure with those meters that we're rolling out before, how do we get extra information to really work on our network? And that's what you can see in that precision photo. So that's a little, the black device that you can see there is a vibration sensor. And what it allows us to do, as you can see on the graphs, is see through vibrations and acoustics when we are starting to see an issue and believe that we're about to get a leak or a burst, and when we're back to normal. We're in early days of these trials, but already we're seeing these are fantastic in terms of us being able to predict when we're about to get a leak or a burst, and then being able to fix it and make sure that our maintenance is focused on the right areas and prevent that reactive scenario where we have to fix a problem after it's happened. We're really excited about what this can do in terms of how it can shift us. So that's two of our key steps on our digital journey in terms of protecting the volume of water. Our next step in terms of the digital journey is about protecting the quality of our water. And this goes to the idea that we want to make decisions based on data and have our people using that data so that we can use their time in the best way possible to make really in-depth experience judgments. That picture again on the right, reactive, we've got a really broad network. For some of our zones that are right in the outer, we need people to go out and get a sample in terms of chlorine residuals to know what the chlorine is and to know if we might have a potential issue or upcoming issue with water quality. Again, we're trying to shift so that we can do this in a cost-effective but data-driven way. And so that's a picture on the precision side of a chloroclam, which allows us, without having to set up a 240 volt power supply, but using a SIM card and a battery to get that real live data, to feed it into our SCADA system and hopefully get that early warning so we know where an incident might be likely or more likely to happen, and we can address it before it becomes a widespread issue or concern. So that's volume, quality, and then finally, when you think about that graph about what's happening to our water, the other area that we're really trying to work on as part of our digital journey is the incorporation of alternate water sources and how we do this. As Greg mentioned, I used to work at Tesla, and I think one of the components that I'll always remember from Tesla is around their design philosophy, particularly when it came to electric vehicles. And that was really that concept that if we wanted to get widespread adoption of electric vehicles, then it needed to be a better product than the alternative. It couldn't just be better environmentally. It needed to be faster. It needed to be more beautiful, so that the overall package meant that everyone in the market should choose the electric vehicle in a natural sense. And that's what we've tried to do here too, in terms of, we have a land development that we've worked with a developer called Aquarevo. It's got about 470 homes now, and we've got 3 different sources of water plumbed into that home, so that people's lifestyle experience, whether they're using recycled water, whether they're using tank water from their own roof, or whether they're using our treated drinking water, is the same. We're not asking them to make any changes to their behavior in terms of when they shower, how they shower, what they use. What we're doing is providing that key source to their home. What we've seen again from this, and allowing customers to see a sort of a portal about how much water they're saving in terms of potable water, is that the savings vary between sort of 20 and up to 69%, with an average about 45% of that precious drinking water saved. And this is the type of thing that I think we need to do more of as well, in terms of bringing some of those alternates in, making it easy for customers to use alternate water, and providing them that information so that they're encouraged and want to be part of solving what is ultimately a societal challenge in terms about how we use our water. So when I finish today, I just want to talk about, digital utility was something that has been talked about for a while. It felt like previously it might have been an option, something that maybe needed technology to come a little bit further before it could happen. We're very much of the view now that it's no longer an option. It's something that we need to do to deliver for our customers and deliver for society more broadly. And the good news is that that technology is now here with us, and we can start to make that change. We're really interested to understand what you're doing. We will keep on our journey as we go along these different paths to start to really become the digital utility, and to shift from reactive and all those negative implications to predictive to precision, and so that the experience is better for everyone and we're saving our precious resource. Thank you.
Thanks, Lara. If there's any questions for Lara, please put them in the chat or respond via the online portal, and then we'll be asking the questions directly to Lara. While we're waiting for questions, Lara, just a quick one is about how have you found staff within the organisation embracing the move to digital? Has that been, and how's the cultural change that accompanies that been?
Yeah, thanks, Greg, for the question. I think people are really excited about what digital means for them, particularly in terms of getting some of the data at their fingertips and being able to have some of those data-driven decisions. We've really found that, our people care, not surprisingly, a lot about our customers, a lot about our service levels, and then to give them the information that they're looking for rather than needing to wait for time has really been, I suppose, a process of empowerment. I think it's on us too, as part of that, of explaining why we're going to digital and what it means, and also taking out some of those more manual tasks that they don't really enjoy and don't add a lot of value, so that we can free them up for the judgment tasks.
Brilliant. I'm not seeing any further questions come through. So I'm not sure at this stage where we progress. Do we? Yeah. I suppose the other question, Lara, would be about how long do you see the journey going with digital, with this next phase? Is this something that you'll roll out fairly quickly, or is it going to take a number of years to roll through?
Yeah, we've gone through a sort of a phase transition to do it. The team, long before I joined, really looked at different digital meters and sensors. So in total, we've got about 70,000 different digital sensors or devices in our network to make sure that the technology was the right technology. So we've gone through a journey over a couple of years of doing that. We then did the sort of the first phase of rollout to make sure that our processes were working, to test our communications with customers as well in terms of what their frequently asked questions were. And now we're starting that more broader rollout. So we're definitely hit a pace from the digital meter side at the moment of about 1,000 to 1,500 a week. And part of it then is really, again, about continuing to understand the business case to prove out the benefits that come to our customers from doing this.
Oh, brilliant. That's an impressive rate of rollout. We've got a couple of questions in the chat from, I'll get this name wrong, Mathokusi Mayo asked, thanks, Lara. Who foots the bill for the digital meters? Is the cost passed on to customers?
Yeah, so there's two components for us in relation to that. So the way that it works for us here in Melbourne, Victoria, is that we have every 5 years a pricing submission process where we work with customers in terms of what they want to see from us across these next 5 years and what the cost of that is. We put this to customers last time in the last 5 years and got support and permission to do a pilot. And we're doing the same things in this next phase. We have meter exchanges that we need to do anyway. Normally they would just be analog meters to analog meters. And so what we're doing is using that opportunity when we've got an analog meter that needs to be changed to switch it to a digital one, as well as rolling out the digital ones along certain areas. So we can start to prove some of the information like I've just shared with you in terms of the number of leaks and what percentage of leaks and what proportion of water that we're able to save once we get that messaging right.
Right. We've got more of a technical question from Brad about what wireless technology are you using to connect the smart meters? Is it LTE, LTE-M, NB-IoT?
Yeah, it is NB-IoT. In terms of that, we have got a sort of a platform that allows us to ingest the data that was created within Southeast Water, an IoT platform. That platform is agnostic to comms. I think one of the things that we were doing when we built that platform was we wanted to make it flexible in terms of how it might change over time. But in terms of what we are using currently, it is NB-IoT.
Right. Thomas is saying, thanks very much for the presentation. Are you finding with the new data availability that you're needing to employ or hire more data scientists?
Right, yes, we are. And I think that's a trend that, water is definitely probably seeing in other industries too. So we have about 5 data scientists currently in the business. I think that's definitely a skill set that we will see grow as we go through this transformation. Data scientists are certainly a really important part of, making that solution right and looking at the process. The other important part is our, maintenance, our operation crews, our people who are involved in the process now. They know what those pain points are in terms of either customer or their team. They also often know what, if they just had X or Y information or in A or B form, that they would be able to change different processes. So what we're seeing is data scientists are really important, but the expertise and knowledge and experience that comes from our broader team is equally important.
Yeah, it's definitely that mix. And so Nav asks, how do you make it cost effective to have 3 separate water systems for each premises? I think they're talking about AquaRevo.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. AquaRevo for us is, it's sort of, I suppose, that first really big trial around what it looks like from a cost perspective. And then what we've been looking on, there's been different lots of about 50 to 70 homes that have been released over time, is trying to make it more cost effective as we put in that different equipment. It's fair to say at this stage, all of the people who opted in to have a water efficient home. And I think that's also a change in thinking. In some ways you can think, well, yes, it does cost more, or you can say it provides greater value and means that even if there's restrictions in some times or some parts, they're still able to water their garden or do other parts that might mean a real benefit to their life. So at this stage, it does cost more than it would if we didn't have to supply the 3 types of water, but customers are choosing to do that because of the benefits they get.
Yeah, more holistic solution.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
No, you're right. I've got Brianna who's asking, hi Lara, what opportunities do you see as a water leader to support a more resilient industry across our city, state and country?
Yeah, I think for all of us in terms of being in the water business, that it's really part of our key duty, if you like, to work with each other, to work with the broader sort of water ecosystem and with our customers to make sure that we are planning for the future and making it resilient to different climate change impacts. We've certainly seen, as you can see in that graph, what's happening to us in our region already, and we expect that there'll be other impacts, some of which we know, some of which we probably haven't forecast yet. So really important then to be able to make every drop count, as we say here, so that we've got some more options for the future.
Right. Janae's asking quite a detailed question. How many meters do you have in place today?
Yeah, so I think my figures maybe previously were for a couple of weeks ago. So I think I said 18,000. It's between 18 and 19,000 at the moment, with 25,000 by the end of June being our target. The team's certainly working really hard on that. And part of that for us is to see how different people respond, how different parts of our network, what is the leakage profile there, you know, what does it mean from a high-rise building to a single dwelling, and what does it mean where we've got different types of pipes as well. So we're really in that learning phase. We've got the technology right. It's now how do we make sure our rollout and customer communications and what we do with that data is as effective as it can be.
Right, and talking of data, Kashvinder's asked, well, how do you manage the personal data protection of the digital customer meter?
Yeah, this is a really important component for us just in terms of cybersecurity and also protecting our customers' data. So the device data is all encrypted from end to end. And then also in terms of, we've looked at it from a cybersecurity perspective, from the whole process, had an external firm also come in and audit it just to make sure we're as robust as we can be.
Right. And then, well, Christina's asked then, if we move to the staff side, what challenged staff the most when implementing these changes?
Yeah, good question. I think partly it was about us explaining the why for it, about what we're prioritizing first. I think for some people that get really keen about digital, which is fantastic to see, then they'd love to see their area worked on first. I mean, it's also explaining what it means for people who are working on areas that they feel aren't digital. So for instance, we've got a fantastic team that works on our analog meters, and we will have our analog meters for a while. It's really important that for our customers and our team working on analog meters that we continue to support them, which we're doing. But we've also put them in our digital utility team so that they can cross-skill and upskill and be part of both of those 2 types of meters, which we will have for a while.
Excellent, thanks. And then last question from Rita. She said, great presentation. Thanks very much, Lara. What's been the biggest challenge for Southeast Water so far in terms of your digital transformation?
Yeah, I think there's a number of them. I don't know if I can point to one of them. I think certainly at the start, it was making sure that we had the technology right. You know, I think as one of the other questions sort of alluded to, it is a cost in doing this. We want to do it once and we want to do it right. So certainly initially it was about finding the right technology, and we had great teams looking at that, working with others, working with providers to get that technology right. I think this next phase is really making sure that we test and learn. So now that we know 80% of people respond to a leak in 10 days, what about that other 20%? How do we make sure that we're messaging them in the right way so that they're taking action? Or is there other information that we can provide? And I think that's our current challenge. How do we test and learn and prove out these benefits so that customers and our teams are getting the most that they can from them?
Fantastic. Yeah, a great initiative and great work. So thanks very much, Lara. To our online audience, I'm sure you're all join me in thanking Lara for an excellent presentation and a great response to the questions. I think there's some really excellent work going on here, and thanks for sharing. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg, and thank you to all who tuned in. We are really keen to learn and hear about from others as well, so please do contact us and we'll keep sharing as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.